Welcome back to the channel. My name's Adam Smith, and inside this prototype unboxing, we're going to check out all the components that came as part of the prototype for Lands of Evershade from Awaken Realms. This one's landing on GameFound for mid-November. The specific date as well as the campaign page link can be found in the video description and pinned comment. The purpose of this video is to show you everything that came as part of the prototype, including a couple of miniature boxes even outside this box here, as well as the player's handbook. Lands of Evershade is a hybrid RPG board game experience that lets 1 to 5 players enjoy grand, richly narrated open-world adventures without a dungeon master, while keeping the game approachable and easy to learn. You start by building your perfect character using an immersive player's handbook. You choose from unique races and origins, dark secrets, and exciting classes with interesting advancements and specializations that ensure no two characters are going to be the same. All the decisions made during the character creation, as well as later in the game, change how the world's going to react to you, both in the story and in combat. Were you a nobleman or a common thief in your past? What's your secret or personal quest you hide from other players? New stories, interactions, and combat opportunities unlock at every step along the way. You can explore the game's multiple standalone story modules and scenarios in the order of your choice to create your own campaign that will lead you to different areas and significant events in the vast universe of Lands of Evershade. When necessary, engage in fast-paced tactical combat in which the enemies react to your actions. And of course, it is Awaken Realms. You're going to be enjoying dozens of high-quality models that bring to life your party members and enemies as you venture through the game. We'll definitely be taking a look at those in prototype form in the very near future of this video. And it probably goes without saying, as it's mentioned in the title of the video, as well as right here on the game box, this is a prototype, so everything here is subject to change and is not a representation of the final version of the game. And as you can clearly see inside the box, a number of game components. I'll be taking these out layer by layer to show you each and every one of them. Here are the first components out of the prototype box. The initiative bags here, 2 drawstring bags, the divinium dice, the D12s. We also have pouches down here, and up here portraits for each of the characters, and these will actually be slotted into the dashboards. Here's a closer look at those divinium dice and the D12s. And a look at the portraits for each of the characters within the prototype. Next up are the character dashboards. There are multiple of these inside the prototype, but only one is necessary to show you all the different slots. And of course, what goes into these recessed slot areas will very much make your character unique. You'll see here it tracks your race, your origin, your profession, secret origin, skill slots, condition slots, your full equipment loadout for weapons, helmet, armor, footwear, small items. You also have your inventory section here, story trackers, advancement trackers, HP tracker, aura, your portrait we just talked about moments ago. Depending on which character you choose, you'll simply slot that portrait right in. Again, everything's recessed, so everything will stay exactly where it should be as you're going through gameplay, and that's a good thing because there's lots of things being tracked here. Attributes up there. You've got your XP track along the right-hand side. To the right-hand side of the character dashboard is the hotbar, and this is going to track a number of offensive and defensive effects. You'll also note that some of these are locked. Next up, we have the storyboard tracker. This is a 2-piece component. So you'll see the top section right here running from A to Z. And then along the bottom, there is a puzzle piece connection here connecting the bottom portion. And again, when it's set up during gameplay, it will be vertical. This next component is known as the storybook. For the prototype, as it states at the bottom, a starting Lands of Evershade adventure. It's called Into the Whitewell. For those interested, here's a look inside the storybook for the starting adventure of Lands of Evershade in its prototype form. This consists of 100 pages of text, and you'll see the general layout of things here on the right-hand side. I'll show you the next page as well, just to give you an idea as to how things are laid out. This is consistent all the way through the entire book, which, like I said, goes all the way to the end. I won't show you the very end because, of course, that would be spoiler territory, but there's 98 pages worth of content in here. The next component I want to show you is called the camp sheet, and you'll actually see 9 pocket slots on the camp sheet itself to keep things organized at camp. You'll also see one which is already populated with an improvised shrine, allowing you to pray. Down at the very bottom of the camp sheet, you'll see it's part of the camp phase. There's 7 steps within it, and this is all going to be housed here. The next component is an exciting one. These are known as the secret sheets. When you go into the starting adventure called Into the White Well for the prototype here, I've got a number of these secret sheets, and these are going to be essentially the game board you'll be traversing across as you go through your adventure. So you guys will see some of these as we go into gameplay anyway, but I want to put the disclaimer out there. If you do not want to see anything at this point, feel free to go ahead and skip to the next section of the video if you don't want to see anything here, but this being the game board itself probably wants to be seen by a number of individuals as to how things are laid out. So without further ado, let's dive into checking them out. We've now made it to the final layer of the core prototype box, and inside of here, while I won't go through every single component, there's a number of important ones you'll use during setup, but others will just sit there until gameplay dictates their use. So you'll see things in here like the equipment tokens, which will go on your dashboards. You're going to see advancements. You're going to see condition tokens up here like injuries, maybe secret origins that have keywords like sibling on them. You'll also see damage dials, tracker cubes, decision tokens, a number of things that I will go over during my gameplay video. But for now, I'm going to show you some of these equipment-based tokens up close. We'll check out more of these components and find out what each of them is all about in future gameplay videos. Now let's dive into the cards that came inside the box. And that's going to do it for the cards that came as part of the prototype. Just want to touch on the pouch once more in terms of what actually goes into a pouch. It's going to be any cards that are currently not on the hotbar that we saw earlier, that dashboard to the right of the character dashboard, and any items that are currently not in the equipment slots will be in here. That's going to do it for the core box. We're now going to move on to the miniatures that came as part of Lands of Evershade. I know there's many of you that want to see the miniatures up close, so we're going to show you each unique sculpt that came as part of the prototype. The final thing I want to show you is inside the player's handbook, which I showed at the very beginning of the video, but now we're going to dive inside of it to show you exactly what's in it currently. This is, again, a work in progress. It's not final, but here's a breakdown of the table of contents. Inside, you have Chapter 1, the Lands of Evershade, giving you some nice flavor text into the world, introducing you to the game you're about to adventure in. Chapter 2 is creating a character and how to do this. Chapter 3 is Races of Evershade, and again, these races are specific to the prototype. There might be more in the final version. Chapter 4, Earlier Years. Chapter 5, Profession and Path. Chapter 6 is Departure. And you'll see in Chapter 7, you get into Character Advancement, which breaks into a number of different areas. And again, you remember some of those advancement tokens we saw earlier in the video. You can even jump right to Chapter 8, where it goes to pre-generated characters if you do not want to create a character from scratch. Chapter 9 is all about the secret origins. Chapter 10, Traveler's Guide to Evershade. So you definitely want to read this if you want a lot of understanding around the universe of the game itself. And then Chapter 11 has a codex. Chapter 12, game credits. And there's more at the tail end of this thing coming soon. The introduction to the player's handbook lets you know this is not the rulebook. It is a gateway to the world of Evershade, so you can familiarize yourself more with the world and the setting as much as you want, but you don't have to. You can dive right into the gameplay experience, but of course immersing yourself more into the RPG side of the equation and getting a little bit more of the lore in your mind before you set out on your adventure will certainly set the stage for what's to come. You also can create fresh characters, as we've already seen, advance existing ones, and of course use ones that are pre-generated. Flipping the page over, we get right into chapter number 1, The Lands of Evershade. You can pause the screen and read this if you wish to get an idea as to some of the flavor text that this book has for you. You'll also notice artwork throughout this book that looks awesome. For those of you that love that RPG element of creating your own character, chapter number 2 is all for you. As you create your character, you're taking an empty character board, an empty pouch. You're also going to fill some spaces on the experience track with 12 advancement tokens to be used, with the exception of the 3 bottom ones. You're going to fill slots on the HP track with 5 blank tiles, with the exception of the first 3 slots. And then you have to prepare yourself a set of either dice, which come within the game, or you can use your own set of standard RPG dice. Chapter 3 is all about race. You can choose your race from any of the following, or you can simply roll a d8 to determine which race you'll be. And if you want to dive more into the lore of the backstory of each of the races within the game, there's going to be sections of this book which will give you a full breakdown on that and details around it. So for example, if you were playing a human, there'll be instructions in terms of exactly how to play the human and set them up. Jumping into chapter number 3 gets us all the way to page 30 and 31, which gets us into chapter 4, the early years, all around your origin story for your character. Again, you can go into this chapter to find details of the different origins that you could potentially choose, or you can roll a d12 to determine what that will be. This right here is just a wait for the pages to keep them from flipping. This is not part of the prototype, and it's mine on the side. And here's an example of a couple of the sheets inside of chapter number 4. Chapter number 5 is all about your profession. It says eventually you've learned your own dangerous trade. Its choice will greatly impact the game, giving you access to 3 different advancement trees, finishing the pool of your actions and reactions, as well as giving you some basic tools to do your job. You can choose your profession or again roll in order to determine what it is. So as an example of a profession and path, here is the Paladin. And further information for the Paladin's path can be found on the following page. About halfway through the prototype player's handbook, we get to chapter number 6, which is all about the departure. So you have a number of steps here to go through as you get closer to your adventure beginning. Chapter 7 is all about the character advancement tree. So as your character advances across the primary tree, it also has a secondary tree. And as it mentions here, primary trees are unique for each profession. Secondary trees have some overlap between the professions. And there's full breakdowns of all these tree advancements within the player's handbook as well. Within Lands of Evershade, if you're not interested in creating your own character from scratch, you have the option in chapter number 8 to take on a pre-generated character. You'll find all the information about these characters page by page in this chapter. Chapter 9 is all about secret origins. Every character will have a secret, and it's a story left unfinished. It's a personal quest, and as it mentions down here at the bottom, each module for starting characters introduces secret origin tiles at the right moment. Until then, you don't read anything inside this chapter, so for that purpose, I will not be showing anything in chapter 9 at this time. Chapter number 10 is going to be a favorite for individuals that want to know the geography of Evershade. You're going to find everything you want to see inside of this section. This chapter is broken down to a number of full artwork pages as well as flavor text accompanying each of them to give you an appreciation of what these different landscapes entail. And the artwork found within this chapter certainly pulls you in. That's going to do it for the prototype unboxing of Lands of Evershade coming from Awaken Realms, landing on GameFound in mid-November. If you want to find the exact date as well as the campaign link, I've got that in the pinned comment and video description. And stay tuned to the channel, as we always do, diving further into the prototype to help you make an informed decision on it with gameplay. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, keep on rolling solo.